no, but I've heard people, I mean, getting their tires are shot at 12,000 miles.
That's nuts.
So, which is nuts. But that's another thing, like you're saying, to be aware of. Like, hey, you could smoke your tires very quickly in this if you're not careful.
Hello and welcome everyone to a brand new episode of the Auto Tech Show, our podcast that talks about everything automotive technology and innovation. Now on this episode, we're talking about electric vehicles, EVs, and how the impact that they are having on the greater public and how that's changing their adoption to automotive technology in general. With the tremendous momentum EVs are moving forward with, is it creating a bridge between OEMs and the consumer, or perhaps creating a gap for future opportunities? Now, to help us answer these questions, I'm very excited to welcome an international automotive influencer, Ben, or as you can find him on YouTube, Jeebs. Ben is a successful automotive review expert with over 110,000 subscribers on YouTube, where you can catch his auto reviews and insights. Definitely worth checking out when you have a moment. Ben, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you jumping on with us. Really looking forward to kind of what you have to say and your thoughts on this topic.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on the podcast. I love doing these, so thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. So let's jump straight in. Now, over the last 10 years, we've seen EVs evolve to be quite a rarity. You'd never see them on the streets, and a bit of an outsider idea to mass adoption where we're at now. Names like Tesla, Polestar, Cupra, they're household names now. We're even seeing the big OEMs, Ford, Nissan, Toyota, BMW, Mercedes, and on and on. They're making big steps towards EVs being a priority in their production line year on year, and we're going to continue to see that. So in your opinion, and as someone who looks at these vehicles regularly, what's driving this mass adoption in the public eye from something that was so foreign not long ago?
I think the biggest thing, and this is like how I kind of got into it, is because Tesla made a product that was appealing. Mm-hmm. So, Mercedes actually released, I think they had like an SLS E or SLS electric back in 2010 or something. I remember Top Gear reviewing it. It was like bright yellow. But basically Tesla brought a product to market that was had enough range, was affordable to enough people, and had some really cool features. Now, when I first saw Teslas on the road, seeing the Model S's and then starting to see Model 3s around, I was like, that is the dumbest thing, is the ugliest car. Like what? Like I hate it. I was a hater for no reason.
Yep.
I just thought they weren't very exciting to look at. And then I was in Hawaii for work. I was in Honolulu. And I was just my day was over. I had nothing to do. So I'm walking around Waikiki, and there's a Tesla showroom there. So I go in the showroom, and I was just talking to one of the sales reps, and I asked him, I'm like, how do people get the different wheels? He's like, oh, he pulled the hub off and showed me that. I was like, that's cool. He's like, have you ever driven one? I said, no. He goes, they're all here. Do you just want to take one? I said, yeah. He handed me the key card. He said, go to the garage. It's up there. It's a gray one. So I'm like, okay. He's like, you have 2 hours, just bring it back.
Nice.
So I went in the parking garage, got in it. The second I got out of the parking garage and hit the accelerator, my mind changed. It was over. So the gears, it was fast. It was quiet. The screen there with everything you need, the sound system's incredible. And me personally, I like cars that are exciting to drive. I had a BMW M2 manual. I had a Focus ST. I had a Civic Si previous to that. So I've always been in enthusiast cars. So to me, an electric car is not exciting. It's because it's not as engaging. There's no exhaust. But jumping into Tesla and seeing how that performed and how sensible it was. You have the space in the front. You have the subcompartment in the back. I think because of how sensible they are, how little maintenance they have, it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. And also, you've now grown the car community by millions and millions of people because you have people who are interested in tech who now love their car, like the traditional car enthusiast does. And that's where I think I fit into the I guess the YouTube space of it is, I came from over here and now I'm driving a car from over here, and I'm trying to mesh those two and, show people how great it can be to love a car and be an enthusiast. So, to answer your question, yeah, I just think because, Tesla obviously became very popular, they became profitable, and millions of people want the car. So now all these other companies are trying to also cash in, but that's what I think was the catalyst.
So you think it kind of took like this big wow effect, but then it couldn't just sustain that. Then it's just a bubble and it bursts, but it's kind of become practical and easy to maintain and low effort. So it was cool and that got a lot of people in, but now the long-term plan is the ease of use and ownership, I guess.
Yeah. The long-term. Yeah, exactly. I've even said to myself, I don't know that I ever won't own a Tesla.
Interesting. Okay.
Like it will. Now, I don't think in the short term, I don't see myself only owning electric vehicles because I like gas powered cars as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think having one of each is great, but yeah, it's going to, now that with the competition coming in, Tesla possibly opening up their supercharger network, it's going to change. Yeah, we'll see.
So here's a question then for you. You just said you don't think you'll own another electric car. What would it take for you to buy, say, like a Mercedes electric car? Would they have to do something special, or is it just a progression in your mind? What would it take for you to own something other than a Tesla?
So one car that's on my radar is the Hyundai Ioniq, Ioniq 5N. So their N line is their performance line. And it's incredible. I've driven their gas-powered cars that have the N branding. They're excellent. So I think that is going to be an excellent car. So for me, like the Tesla makes a lot of sense. I would need something from a different brand that provides something totally different. And that's what the N variant is going to do. It's not even out yet. But it's going to be an enthusiast-focused car, ready for the track, ready for canyon roads, and maybe do things in a performance manner better than Tesla can. So I'm not like, I know I've said a million things about Tesla, but I'm not like, oh, Tesla is the greatest and Elon is the all hail Elon, like I'm not like that at all. I love the Polestar. I love the Audi e-tron GT, the Porsche Taycan. So like I like a lot of them, but for me, when I bought my Tesla at first, it was, okay, I need to have a charging network that's reliable. I was driving 3,000 miles a month as a medical device sales rep. All of the pieces had to fit in. And that's just worked for me at the time.
Got it. Okay. And I could see that being relatable for a lot of people then. Like you said, they're merging the tech and the automotive sphere, and then the practicality is now coming in more. So it makes a lot of sense to go electric and to invest in this kind of EV train. I guess that's why a lot of brands are making it a priority. So that makes a lot of sense. So as you mentioned, all the features and the cool tech in the car, like when you first got in it in Hawaii, we're seeing new systems, new AI driving systems, obviously able to predict what you're doing, your habits when you get in the car. So it's the perfect setting and even probably driving down the roads. As this becomes normal for us, as this becomes kind of this standard accepted way of living with our vehicles, do you think the public is going to become more accepting of technical innovations within the automotive space in general, looking outside of the vehicle itself, but like the service side and the purchasing side? Do you feel like we're becoming more accepting of tech in the sector?
It's tough. I think it really depends on where you live.
Okay.
Like if you go to, Arizona is pretty good where I'm at. California, it's crazy how many electric cars and chargers are there. But if you go to North Carolina, if you go to Oklahoma, if you go to South Dakota, that it's a rarity to see them. And there's not a ton of, there's a lot of false information. I had a video that went crazy viral. It got like 50 million views on Shorts. And the video got like 40,000 comments. And if you go through these comments, it's you can't even comprehend it. But if you go through the comments, it's interesting because a lot of people don't understand. Like, what do you mean it only goes 200 miles? Why did it cost $10 to go 200 miles? Where it's like that's just enough charge to get to the next charger. But what am I going to do? Sit there and reply to 30,000 comments and say the same thing over and over? Like, it's hard to understand if you don't do it. If you don't take a road trip in a car, you wouldn't understand why wouldn't I just, like, if you fill up a gas car, you fill it up to a full tank. So it's going to just take time. And it's going to take, more people sitting in the car and test driving just like I did. I've even thought in my head, like, I wouldn't even know who to reach out to for this, but it would be cool if I could be in an 18-wheeler and just travel across the country and just run demo test drives, like show up in a mall parking lot and just do test drives with people and whatever EV manufacturer wants to give me a car. And just to show them I don't think they should be forced upon people, like government saying, hey, you need to drive this. You have to let people spend their money how they want to spend it. If a gas car still makes the most sense, if getting a Nissan Versa new for 15 grand is what you can do, you shouldn't be forced to buy a Model 3 for $45,000. So it's going to happen over time. It's going to be gradual. And I think that's going to be the best way for EV adoption. It also gives manufacturers time to give the cars more range, improve the charging network, because you want the experience to be good for the end user.
Yeah. So if we look back 10 years ago, obviously we rarely saw anything on the roads. In the next 10 years, do you see that adoption kind of exponentially growing? Like, do you see people accepting faster and faster as we go on, or we've kind of hit a flat spot? How do you see that?
I think we are right now entering a flat spot.
Okay.
Because you had the huge, Tesla through the pandemic. All these other brands are coming online. Ford has the Lightning. Ford has the Mustang Mach-E. Polestar is now producing model. Like, there's all Hyundai, the Korean brands are doing great. China has their brand. So it's all coming to a head. I think it's going to really depend on like the cost of them. There's some brands like Toyota really doesn't have much of an EV plan. They're not like totally set on it, which I actually appreciate them coming out with like the GR Corolla, the Supra manual transmission. Like, it's like the 90s again.
Old school car. Yeah.
The greatest hits. So I'm just not sure. I think you got a lot right now. You have all of the early adopters, and then there's still some coming in, but I think it's slower. I think the demand is decreasing. But we're going to see over the next few months and years how it goes. But I think we are hitting a flat spot of some sort. I was even talking to Kyle Connor from Out of Spec Motoring. He was recently in town, and I hung out with him for an evening. And he was even saying how like the best CCS charging experience was 2 years ago. But now the maintenance of these chargers has fallen off. No one's maintaining them. So now you're going to these chargers and like one works of four or none work, and there's 6 people waiting. So imagine buying your $60,000 car and you show up and you have to wait an hour, or you can't charge. So that's, again, the charging infrastructure is so important. And I think the maintenance of those might cause people to go, I'm just going to keep driving my gas car. It's easy.
Yeah. The thing that's worked for the past number of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So it brings up an interesting point then. And you kind of touched on it with like the 18-wheeler road trip, but what can OEMs do to help to move the progress forward? Like, the original question I was going to ask you was, what kind of proactive engagement do you get from the brand? Like, here's the keys and okay, see you later. Do you think there's an opportunity then for the brand to have some type of proactive engagement with future buyers, current buyers, longtime owners, with these updates and things that can maybe help progress this adoption forward? Do you think there's an opportunity there?
Yeah, I think brands, first of all, the dealership experience, that's a nightmare.
Okay.
Going in, like if I go online and I see a car, I just did this the other day. I saw a car for $59,000 and I went in and I said, hey, I saw you had this price, or, this car was listed at this. They're like, well, you have to bring in proof that you saw that. I'm like, in the dealership, it's $67,000. So when Hyundai only gets, 5 Ioniqs, or maybe they have 2, you're starting to negotiate from $10,000 above MSRP. Whereas if you go, again, I'm talking about Tesla, but you go online, you click buy, you put in your $250 deposit, and that's what you get the car for.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever's listed online, they honor that. And that's, if it's 50 grand, you get it for 50 grand. There's no negotiating. There's no back and forth. Hey, do you want to throw on the desert package so we'll put nitrogen in your tires? And it's like, guys, like you're turning away. Whereas like I want to get that Hyundai Ioniq N or Ioniq 5N, but I don't have like a Hyundai connection of any sort. So I'm going to have to, thinking about that already starts to turn me away.
Interesting.
Like it needs to just be, hey, the first guy that comes in, or first lady that comes in and wants to buy this car, here's the price, and this is the bottom line. And you go, okay, and you walk out. But the messing with people for, these cars that are going to depreciate, and the second you pull off the lot,
yeah,
not only does the car devalue a little bit, whatever you paid on top of MSRP is gone. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I think the dealership experience, you should be able to walk in. Each dealer should have a designated test drive car, and they should be like, hey, you want to test drive this? Absolutely. Just need your driver's license, and there's 2 people ahead of you, and then you can take it for a spin. It should be like there's certain brands that are like, hey, we don't want you to test drive this. We need to make sure you check your credit, and then we're going to do this. It should just be boom, here, take this. And Hyundai should use that as a write-off or whatever once it does 1,000 miles of test drive and then sell it. I just think they should make that very easy, because butts in seats sells the most cars. If you're building a good car, people are going to get in it, and especially an EV because it's different.
Mm-hmm.
You get in, it's quiet, it's smooth, it's fast, it has a lot of torque, and it has all these different features. So I just think the pricing needs to be straightforward, and I think you should be able to test drive them easily at any dealership.
Yeah. So getting butts in seats, I like that wording. It's true, because you need to experience. It's not like any other regular vehicle. EVs have a special thing about them. So that's the pre-purchase area then. So obviously we need to speed up that process. What about ownership? Like what about, like you own a Tesla, obviously, if you're looking at other vehicles. Once you own the car, is there any experience you get from the brand, or is it kind of left to yourself to figure things out? Or when servicing and maintenance comes, like how does that work currently? And then where's the opportunity for the brand to engage you more?
I would say the opportunity would be with your charging setup. Okay. I think the people at the dealership or the sales team or after sales should reach out and partner with local electricians or whoever and say, hey, this is who we recommend for this. Because you bought it through our dealership, you have a $250 credit that we'd like to put towards your charger install. Like little things like that, because you don't have your annual oil change. Mm-hmm. You basically air filters, windshield wipers, tires is going to be the big things that you're doing. So for a brand to engage after that, I guess it would be possible software updates. If you can get over the air updates, like VW has you come into the dealership for those updates. That's right now. I don't know if that will change, but yeah, I think it's also educating the sales force to, make sure the person knows what they're doing after the fact to make it feel like they care.
Yeah, especially if we look at like once it gets competitive, like there's obviously like a massive market share bias at the moment, but once it becomes competitive, brands are going to have to do more, right? And they can get ahead of that game now. Like if someone comes in new and suddenly they're offering this, they can make a huge mark on it.
Oh yeah. Like if you were looking at, a Mercedes and a BMW electric car, and Mercedes was offering to install your charger for free or include your wall charger for free, you'd go, I'm going to go with that. That's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. So I think little things like that can go a long way. and you could mold that into the cost of the car. That way they're not, people aren't seeing it. So I think little incentives like that would be great.
So like then you're kind of safe to say then proactive engagement from a brand, if they're looking in the EV space, will give you a competitive edge. It has to.
Yeah. I'm not sure, after it's sold is kind of what you're getting at, right? Like how can the brand engage?
Keep you there, keep you a customer.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could organize some type of road trip, but that's like, that's a lot for the brand to undertake. I mean, you could.
The servicing level could be something, I suppose, that could be them for new tires, or, obviously you don't have the oil change and the engine stuff is different, but they could engage with you on that aspect, I guess, as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Making sure they come back to the dealership if the dealerships want to survive for the tire rotations, the oil changes, the replacing their tires.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's going to decrease, as more EVs are sold over the coming years, the revenue of the dealerships is going to go down. There's so many. When you look at an engine of a gas powered car now, or when I do at least, I'm amazed it all works.
It's true.
Like when you look at all this coolant goes to here and that and the radiator and these fans work and the cylinders go, and you're like, how did that all work
for years?
And then yeah. So that part of it is going to be interesting. Is how will the dealership service side change and how will they engage? I'm not sure. I hope they get the tire business and everything else. But it's going to be tough.
I'm curious because we were doing some research and it kind of came up because obviously you have an internal combustion car with your Porsche. You have the Tesla. I'm curious, tire wear on both, because EVs have more torque. It's going to pull on your tire more and you're going to hit the button that goes fast more. But the Porsche obviously is a go fast crossover that you have as well. Have you noticed like a significant difference in like wear and tear on it?
So I haven't had the Macan long enough to see the tire wear.
Okay.
The other thing is the tires aren't the same. So I have an all season.
Okay.
It might even be a winter. It's an all season tire on the Macan. I got about 30 to 36,000 miles on my original all season tires on the Tesla Model Y. But now I have high performance summer tires on that are really sticky. So they're going to wear very quick.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting thing is the Macan weighs 4,350 pounds.
Jeez.
And the Tesla weighs 4,363 pounds.
That's crazy, actually.
So it's only a 13-pound difference. And a lot of people think that EVs are significantly heavier. They are. Certain EVs are very heavy. But I was actually surprised to find that those are the same weight.
Yeah.
But with the instantaneous torque, that's what shreds your tires.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it. So I'll drive mine in chill mode a lot of times just to ease off that torque curve. Because if you're going 30 and you get on it, that right there, that little grip rips up the tires a tiny bit.
Yep.
And with you doing that all the time, it's hard to control. And then it's just fun to accelerate hard.
Yeah, that's part of the purchase, right?
Yeah, no, but I've heard people, getting their tires are shot at 12,000 miles.
That's nuts.
So, which is nuts. But that's another thing, like you're saying, to be aware of. Like, hey, you could smoke your tires very quickly in this if you're not careful. But yeah, it varies. But I'm on my second set in the Tesla right now.
Wow. So it sounds like maybe that's where the opportunity for for keeping you coming back to the dealership and some like sort of proactive engagement that could add value is, it sounds like 12,000 miles on a set of tires is insane. That's going to be a healthy monthly cost for you because they're not cheap tires either. I imagine that go on the car. But yeah, that could sound like an opportunity. But so with all of this sort of, adoption happening and people moving over to the EV side and that trend going to continue in some way or another. I mean, every day you go out, there's a few more, right? I mean, no matter where you are, especially here in Europe, we see a lot of them. We have a couple of share car companies that are exclusively EVs, Teslas, BMW, i3s, things like this. Do you feel like the more that we see, the more that we want? Like, do you see that demand growing as it's in the news more? Like, obviously Tesla's in the news every day for something different now, but as the car becomes more accepted and adoption picks up, will it then create further demand for new types of technology, new types of EVs, new services, new features? Is that how it technically goes based on the reviews you've done, the cars you've seen?
I think someone needs to come out with a car that's well, I guess Chevy did with the Bolt. It needs to be a car that is appealing to look at. Like, the Chevy Bolt is not a bad car at all.
No.
Like, they're not at all. They make a lot of sense. They get good range. They're electric. The problem is they don't look very good. They're not appealing to people. So, if you could have a car that looks like a BMW 3 Series, a Tesla Model 3, Mercedes C-Class, something like that, looks luxury, is nice, but is priced around that $30,000 price mark, that's when I think the mass adoption happens.
Okay. So price.
That's my opinion on that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. I mean, I think that makes sense. Price is obviously a big part of it. And then once you add in those added benefits and that sort of proactive engagement as future opportunity, like you mentioned, throwing in a wall charger, that's one less thing to worry about. Making it as an easy as a transition from a former life of internal combustion to a future life of, we all will be going in that way eventually. It just needs to hit the right buttons for everyone, obviously. And I think once people have the opportunity to see it, they do it. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's a nice way to close. So with that, I appreciate the time today, Ben. It's been really nice talking to you. Before we finish up, any final thoughts on your end?
I don't think, I guess just from an enthusiast perspective, I'm excited to see what performance variants come of these cars. I'm excited for the EV that comes with no back seats and a lightweight package, and you can buy performance parts to make it have more range or have better performance. I'm excited to see where it's all going. And there's a lot of people that are enthusiasts that are going to eventually come over, and you need to cater to that community and crowd too, so we can all enjoy them together. But we're heading into an exciting time with, manufacturers are having to think differently about how they're making cars, and we're going to get to watch all that unfold. So, when combustion engines were coming out 100 years ago, we're now seeing that we're able to see this point in history when EVs are taking over. So it's a really cool time that we're all a part of.
Yep, I agree. Lots coming and lots of future change. I think it's an exciting time in the industry. So perfect. Again, thanks so much, Ben. Really appreciate the time today. And wishing you a great rest of the year.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Perfect. And for all of you watching at home and listening, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. Hopefully lots for you to take away, lots happening in the industry. But I think we highlighted that it's a positive thing, and there's lots of opportunity for brands and OEMs to take advantage of in future years. So with that, we'll bring this episode to a close. Thank you all so much for watching. Wishing you a great day wherever you may be. We'll see you on the next episode of the Auto Tech Show. Bye for now.